Why am I making a video about a game that's already half a year old? That's a good question. Well, number one, I need to practice making game reviews, and this is going to be the first one I'm making. And number two, more importantly, I've been taking it relaxed with Lost Ark, which allowed me to play other games. And Fire Emblem Three Hopes was the first game I chose to play. And that's why I'm going to make a review about this game now. So why should you play Fire Emblem Three Hopes? Well, in this video, I will try to show you what makes the game fun and why I think you will like it too. For this whole video, I will avoid spoilers of the story. Fire Emblem Three Hopes is a hack-and-slash action RPG in which you take the role of Shez, a mercenary, and slash your way through the story, which is set in the same Fire Emblem universe as Three Houses, which is part of the reason why I advise this game for anyone that loves Fire Emblem Three Houses. Let's first talk about the gameplay of Fire Emblem Three Hopes. The most obvious part of this game is the very straightforward gameplay. As someone who has not really played any Dynasty Warrior games, this was pretty fresh and new to me. And honestly, it was quite fun. While most of this felt pretty brain dead and repetitive, overall it was a fun ride and an enjoyable experience. You have simple attack patterns, special abilities, and cool looking nukes that you will be using throughout the whole game. I would consider it rather on the brain dead side of gaming to me, as I was just able to enjoy this while turning off my brain and mostly smashing any buttons. But at the same time, this was also what made it a bit harder towards the end to continue playing. As expected, the gameplay is insanely repetitive. You will be having similar missions, similar enemies, and pretty much everything kind of just repeats itself. The probably most annoying part towards the end was the long animations tied to some of the stronger attacks. While at first that is really cool, it becomes really obnoxious as you will be getting your nukes more frequently towards the mid and end game. But I honestly assume this is to be expected from this type of game, as what else can it really offer? So let's not be too harsh about this aspect. But some part of this game actually also utilizes your brain, which is the strategical part, so let's have a look at that. Now this one caught me a bit as a surprise. While most of the game is of course just slashing and button mashing, there is quite a lot going on in the background. Not only do you assign your units on the battlefield to take objectives, but also off the battlefield you got quite a lot to do. This ranges from making your units stronger, giving them different weapons, different abilities, up to completely changing their class to whatever you desire. There are a lot of possibilities. You can also choose to focus on this aspect very much in depth and optimize every single aspect, like the support of the characters, upgrading certain facilities to unlock perks, and so on. The possibilities are pretty massive, to be honest. Now the downside to this aspect is not that big, but I still want to mention it. If you are simply playing this game to just hack and slash your way through enemies, the whole strategical part behind the battlefield can become obnoxious, as it is partially mandatory to upgrade your units of course and make sure that they become stronger throughout the story, apart from the leveling which happens on the battlefield. Otherwise, all of this seems quite over the top for how much it can be ignored if you play on normal or hard difficulty, which I did both, which is also what I want to talk about next. How difficult is this game is honestly a very important aspect to me personally. Now I don't know how important it is to you, but I really want to talk about this, so let's do it. I originally started my playthrough on normal, expecting a decent difficulty that would give me a challenge at times, but it turns out that is not the case. Normal difficulty might as well be easy, as your units can pretty much annihilate whomever you are facing. Mind you, I have never tried the easy personally, so to have more of a challenge, I did crank up the difficulty to hard, which was harder. Yes, but it also felt kind of obnoxious. My not perfectly optimized and level units would die on their own more often, forcing me to restart, as I am a classic enjoyer, and the fights overall just felt not that good. Enemy units simply of course get more HP and block more often. I also think they do more damage, but that should not be an issue at all, to be honest. While hard mode promises to give you more rewards for difficulty, it also makes it vastly harder to achieve S rank at the end of the mission, which in return takes again rewards from you, which is not very logical. My whole problem with the difficulty of the game is that even on hard mode, you basically need one unit that overpowers everything, which you control, and you simply ignore the tactical advantage or strategy by just overpowering everything. Once I dropped the idea of evenly leveling 4 to 5 units and funneled everything into one unit, the game became much easier even on hard mode. This was disappointing as I basically optimized my units to be strong casters with decent defense so they wouldn't die by themselves, and I ran around controlling one single unit, which of course made the game even more repetitive, but I felt like it was the optimal way to play the game as opposed to controlling multiple units at a mediocre level. Something I want to touch on real quickly is how the game runs on the Switch. Overall, I would say it felt fine, but as expected from the Switch, the game runs simply okay-ish. You're mostly going to see 30 FPS across the board, with some drops here and there due to lots of enemies and animations, but overall the feeling was fine. As a PC gamer, I am overall of course not very happy with the Switch graphics and performance, but what can I do? I think the game looks also fine, but of course it could look much better. The cutscenes also look okay, but they pale in comparison to the cutscenes that Fire Emblem Engage has shown me. A very vital part of this game that carries it a lot is the character design, so let's have a quick look at it. And also to avoid any spoilers here, but as you should know, this game has the same cast as the Three Houses Fire Emblem game. The characters of course are lovely as they should be, and part of the biggest reason why I continue playing the game to the end. Creating relationships in between each other and with the main character gives you access to usual support conversations, adding a lot of lore and depth into this game that you wouldn't expect at first glance. So again, if you are someone that enjoyed Three Houses for the story and characters, this game should be on your list. When it comes to the battlefield, the units felt quite similar. Yes, there were many different classes, but they still feel similar. I can't help that. The only significant difference was in between any form of caster and the rest, but I also do believe this is expected with this type of game. There's just limitations to how much you can do. My biggest personal gripe though is that most units end up being tied to having mounts like horses or flying mounts as their end class, which is just something I don't like that much. Why does everyone have to put their butt on a mount to be at the end game? I also know that you can just unmount them for every mission, but honestly that became really obnoxious after a while, so I just let them fly or run around on their mounts and deal with it. Last aspect I really want to talk about, of course, is the story. Oh man. So, as the same with Three Houses, you get to choose which house you want to join. I personally joined the Golden Deer house on my first playthrough. Now, without spoiling anything, the story was pretty good. It really was. I didn't expect to play this game for the story, as I mostly wanted some brainless slashing, which it definitely delivered. But I felt how I changed my goal throughout playing the game. After a rather slow start of the story, I definitely felt like it ramped up and made me want to continue playing. At some points, I honestly just wanted to skip missions to see what's going to happen next in the story. I don't really know where to place it compared to Three Houses, as it's been really a while since I played that. And I couldn't find a proper recap, but overall the story of this game for the Golden Deer route was solid with some minor personal issues I had with it. But that's of no importance. Without any spoilers, of course, as I mentioned earlier, if you are someone who's into the lore of Three Houses universe, please get this game. You will not regret it. That's really the only thing I want to mention again. And now to the final question, which this video is supposed to be answering. Why should you buy Fire Emblem Three Hopes? Well, to sum it up, the game is an overall fun experience if you enjoy this type of gameplay. And even if you don't, you should try it out if you are a Fire Emblem franchise fan and played Three Houses. I'm sure in easy mode you can basically ignore any of the battle stuff and just hammer your way quickly through the story. For people that are hardcore Dynasty Warrior fans, I wouldn't know how this game is, as I'm not part of that group. For someone that has some interest in Fire Emblem and wanted to play something fun, this game honestly met my expectations. My playthrough lasted around 40 hours, and I nearly did every single side mission. I did not go for S rating on all of them, which is something of course you can do if you feel like it, but the real question at hand is if you can accumulate around 120 hours to see the whole stories of the other two houses. And I think that's a solid amount of hours for the price. Yet the game will of course become repetitive, that is a guarantee. So I suggest putting it down for a few days and picking it up again, as the combat will feel slightly fresh again after a break. I know many people do not consider this game a true Fire Emblem game, but honestly it is one, besides the combat of course, and it is something I would definitely suggest to anyone, as it has no difficulty nor does it require you to be the best strategical player of all time. And that would be it for my first actual game review. I hope you guys liked it, of course. And I just want to say, if you guys have any form of feedback, anything at all that you thought was good, or anything that you didn't like as much, or any ideas you have that you would like to see in a different form in a game review, please put it in the comments. I take your feedback extremely serious because I make these videos for you. Like, this video is supposed to help you decide if you want to maybe invest the money into this game, you know. And I hope I can achieve that with this video. So again, your feedback is important to me. Put it in the comments. And if you think this video was great, you can of course leave a like and subscribe for more videos in the future. Now, not only that, I also stream on Twitch, which you can find in the description, and I also have Twitter. And lastly, if you want to talk about the story of this game a little bit, which I don't want to spoil in this video, you can also join the Discord that I have, because I would like to talk about this story. It is actually a really fun game and I really enjoy myself, and I hope if you decide to buy the game that you will share this opinion. And if you did not like the game, also of course tell me why you didn't like it. And I think, yeah, that would be it. So thank you a lot for watching today. I really appreciate you taking your time to watch this video. And as always, wishing you an amazing rest of your day wherever you live.